we are going to learn how to find an equation and graph a line of regression. Find an equation and graph a line of regression. We're going to do that by using the graphing calculator. So we see our data here. Please note that it does say to let x be the number of years since 2002. That changes your values here. That changes your value of 2004, well, since 2002 to 2. 2005 would be I don't have to go through all of those, 5, 6, and 7. So I can just enter this. This makes it a lot quicker to enter it into the calculator. I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go to the stat function, and I'm going to edit some lists. You can see I have a lot of lists in there. There's a lot of lists. You can even start to name your own list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this into L4 and L5. So I know that I had 3, enter, 4, enter, 5, enter, 6, enter, 7, enter, actually I started at 2. So I got to go back up. I'm going to try the insert feature, and I hit second delete there to insert a 2. That way I didn't have to re-enter all of the information. I do need to delete this extra value down here. When I go over to L5, I'm going to enter in the data of sales. I need to remember that is in thousands. So 640, enter. 715, enter. 791, 852, 910,000, and 944,000. After I have this information entered, I can look at it very quickly by making sure my plots are on. I also need to make sure that I'm using L4 and L5. I do that by hitting second, y equals. Upon a quick observation, I notice my plot 1 is off, plot 2 is off, and plot 3 is off. I do notice that plot 3 is using L4 and L5 already. If plot 3 was not using L4 and L5, but I still want to use plot 3, I could go down, select plot 3, turn it on by hovering over on and hitting enter, and I could come down here and hit second, 4. To put L4 in there, I could hit second, 5 to put L5. If your data is in L1 and L2, then you would not want to have L4 and L5 in here. I enter this data into L4 and L5, so that's what I want it to pull. After I know that my plots are on, I can go zoom 9 to see that scatter plot, and I've created a scatter plot. Looking at this correlation, pause and ask yourself, what type of correlation is this? What type of correlation is this? You should be saying to yourself positive, and I would say strong positive, wouldn't you? It's a strong positive correlation. Okay, we should have a pretty good R value there. I want to then make sure that my diagnostics are on, just in case you've borrowed someone's calculator. I'm going to go back to the home screen. On the home screen, I'm going to hit second catalog. I do not have to do this every time. If you did it yesterday, then you would not need to do it today. This is a catalog of every function in my calculator. I'm going to go down to D. Alpha is already selected, so all I need to do is hit the inverse button there, which is the D. And I'm going to scroll down to diagnostics on. I have to scroll slowly in order to keep my computer from crashing. Diagnostics on, or diagnostic on, and I need to hit enter again. After I know my diagnostic is on, I'll be able to get my I know that I will see my correlation coefficient. So you could even do this without it, but you just wouldn't see your correlation coefficient. So let's go ahead, and now we're going to calculate the linear regression by using our graphing calculator. That's in the stat feature, the stat button. I'm now going to go over to calc because I want to calculate something. I want the calculator to calculate for me linear regression. So you can just hit 4, or you can go down to 4 and hit enter. I want to make sure I'm pulling from the correct list. My X list is L4. Okay? So wherever you put your information, you need to be referencing that information. I used L4, so I'm putting L4 in there. If you entered your information into L2, then you would need to put L2 in there. If you entered your information into L1, you need to put L1 for the X variable. You change that by hitting the second button and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Okay? I want to store my equation because I know I'm going to make a prediction. So because this does say that we want to use the function to predict the sales in 2018, I'm going to go ahead and enter my line, my regression equation, that's what that stands for, into Y1. I do that by hitting vars, going over to Y vars. It's Y variables. I hit function, okay, and I would hit enter on Y1 or wherever I wanted to put it. At that point, I go to calculate. Okay? After I go to calculate, I see a nice strong R value there. I see my slope, which is 61.88571429. I see my y-intercept, which is 530.1809524. Now you could round to write your equation in slope-intercept form from here. For people who have a TI-83 plus calculator, or people who aren't seeing the prompt, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to enter the stat plot. So you would say, the stat feature, and you would go to stat, or linear regression. Okay? So you have to enter the linear regression. So when you select that, you're only going to get LinReg up on the screen. I'm going to show you now what you're going to get. You're going to get something that looks like, well, LinReg. You would need to go through and put in your X list, your Y list, and then where you want the equation to be stored. So if you have a TI-83, enter whatever list you're using. It will default to L1 and L2, so if you keep getting different equations, it's defaulting to L1 and L2. You have to tell it which list you want for your X list, which list you want for your Y list, and where you want to put it. Now the comma button is right here. It's right above the 7. So that should cover with you everything that you need to do. It does ask us to make a prediction for 2018, so I need to do some math there. 2018 is how many years after 2002? 2018 is how many years after 2002? It is 16, right? So I would need to go second table, and I would need to enter in 16 into there. There are some students that have entered in, they enter in like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they say, Mr. Claxton, these don't 100% match my table. I'm getting an output of 653 at 2, and it says 640 over here. Please understand that you have just created a best guess. It is a line of best fit. So it's using the least squares regression line to make that. Okay, not what actually happened. Okay, and that's in order to make an estimate. And again, our estimate, we're going to go ahead and put in 16. When we plug in 16, I can see that I'm looking at 1,520. Now, within the context of this problem, what does 1,520 mean? 1,520, how did we get to here? Well, we had to make an interpretation. We had to plug it into our calculator, and yes, we can answer the question. Please understand, we did graph the line of regression. It does say graph the line of regression. There is that green line is the line of regression. That's our best guess. Okay, that is our best guess. You can also make estimates on there by going to the line and entering an x value. Now, if I try to put something in that's outside the window, so I just tried to put something in that was outside the window, and it told me, hey, that's invalid, and it's because it's outside the window right now, the established window. I would need to increase my window. So if I go to my window, my x max right now is 7.5. I would need to go to 16 or greater. If I went to 18, then I should be able. Then I would be able. Well, actually, I would have to increase my y values as well, because even if I tried to enter 16 right now, it wouldn't work. This is everything that you need to know about all the ins and outs of finding a linear regression equation.